Hi guys, I am Drishti. We'll be waiting for 5 minutes so everyone can come. Till then, I would like you guys to tell on the scale of 1 to 10 how excited you guys are for this event. So drop your answers in the chat box and we'll be with you soon. Hey folks, wishing you all a very happy Pride. GirlUp Ahsaas welcomes you all to the panel discussion on life of a queer person. GirlUp Ahsaas is an Indian club under the initiative of GirlUp campaign by UN Foundation, which basically focuses on education of girls, realizing the girls what they are capable of, and bringing the gender equality. We will be circulating forms through which you can ask questions to the panelists, your gender and identities as well.
Hey guys. Before we start with the actual show, let me tell you that it was with great happiness that I tell you that yesterday's event was a huge success. From discussing the term LGBTQIA to understanding various medical and law related terms, it was a very informative session. We were joined by an esteemed panel which included Zoya Thomas Lobo, Dr. Amrit Singh, Advocate Rishabh Bhandari, Chitajit Mitra, and Nitish Mahajan. The panel discussion put forward many issues faced by the community. Key issues like stereotypes, mental health, STD, and the various laws concerning the LGBTQ community in India were addressed. We also had a lot of stories and personal experiences that were shared from the people within the community. The audience was definitely left inspired and they certainly learned a lot more. So stay tuned for today's program. Now I'd like to hand over the podium to Shreya to introduce the esteemed panel for today.
Thank you. Let's start out by introducing today's panel. We have with us outstanding personalities. Firstly, we have Miss Avantika Rohatgi. She's an advocate, managing partner, Avro Juris. She has done her BCom honors, LLB, and LLM in criminal law. She's an active member of the International Council for Jurists, London, and member Bar Council of India and Bar Council of Delhi. Thank you, ma'am. Secondly, we have Priyasha Sinha. She's a law student at Nalsar University of Law and a proud pansexual non binary person. They have been leading the NASA Queer Collective on their mission to make the university space safer, more accessible for queer students. They're also a part of the Trans Policy Committee who have successfully gotten a draft policy passed and are working towards the final policy. They have an interest in gender and queer studies, human rights law, criminal law, property law, intellectual property rights, and social justice. Welcome, Priyasha. Then lastly, we have Arni Khare. She's the founding co-president of GirlUp Jabalpur, an ardent feminist and an ally of the LGBTQ community. She showcases her vocal allyship through organizing several social media campaigns focused on amplifying the voice of the queer community and busting myths about them. She believes that the power we hold as youth can change the world for the better. Welcome. Right. So now we have Drishti coming up to tell us all about homosexuality. The stage is yours.
Thank you, Shreya. Homosexuality, it's sexual interest in and attraction with individuals from one own sex. The term gay is habitually utilized as an equivalent word for gay. Female homosexuality is frequently alluded to as lesbianism. At various times and in various societies, gay conduct has been differently supported, endured, rebuffed, and prohibited. It tends to be conceptualized as want, conduct, and character, despite the fact that it isn't generally compatible inside one individual at any one time, thus might address a wellspring of private conflict. A persistent negative societal attitude towards homosexuality is reflected in the higher rates of social insulation, verbal harassment, and physical assault experienced by sexual minority youth. Additionally, educational and unbiased information about homosexuality is often not available in school and community settings, and homophobic jokes, teasing, and violence are very, very common. Not surprisingly, sexual minority youth are at high risk for having a negative self esteem, mental health issues, substance abuse, and sexual risk taking behaviors. Now, we're going to talk about struggles of LGBT.
Thank you, Dishri. So, the struggles faced by the LGBTQIA community have been constantly brought to light by multiple human rights activists, social influencers, and allies of the community. Whether it be fighting against the violence, conversion therapy, employment discrimination, or even basic human rights, so the community has been neglected of, right? Talking about employment discrimination, I think our panel here will have Pri speak about uh, how employment discrimination is related to identity issues, and what is your take on it?
Hi, I don't know if my internet's working well, but can you please repeat your question?
Right. So, employment discrimination based on gender identity is a very big and happening problem of late. What is your take on the said issue?
Right. Just give me a second. Well, of course, I mean, it all boils down to it being patriarchal and basically a lot of homophobia and transphobia. Um, Gender and sexual discrimination in employment is something that has been happening since for a long time. I mean, women weren't allowed to work, nor were they given the rights to vote until recently, like the last 100 years. That's what um, has happened, right? And there is a lot of work that needs to be done for gender and sexual minorities and women for in within the employment space for them to um, be come up to the same level, um, come up to the same level as the men in employment spaces. It will take a lot of uh, not policy work and not legal work, but it will take a lot of societal changes for that huge amount of substantive change to come in within the employment spaces. So I think I mean, it's a sad reality, but I mean, we have a lot to work towards. So, yeah,
Well said, yes. So I think your co-panelist would be also be able to elucidate on this. So, what are your thoughts on the question as to how do people of not cisgender face discrimination in their professional setup?
Okay, so the people of the LGBTQIA community definitely face this issue when people came to know that like they are unique and they are different from the others. So what they be like as we always hear, minorities are always suppressed. So they suppress the minorities, and also if a person is a trans person, then people be like, no, he's sort of untouchable. So they just treat you as an untouchable person, and they don't give you that much like privileges as compared to the other person. Also in the corporate sector, when I talk about, they just put the pride flag on as their DPs, but in we check with their actual reality, then they are discriminating. There are no as such policies schemes for the LGBTQIA person. So yeah.
Right. With increasing education and information available about the community, it is a responsibility to be mindful of the practices we uphold and teach to those around us. What is your take on this, Priyasha?
I mean, educating people about our community will be a tricky one. I mean, there are a lot of opposing views on whether or not people should teach children about homosexuality or about the LGBTQ community. And while there are some people who are willing to take up that initiative to teach their kids about the community, the complexities of the community escapes us sometimes when we talk about the community. The intersectionality of the community escapes us, because you don't have a person can't just have one identity. They're not only queer, they are also queer along with another identity. Maybe they're queer along with a Muslim identity, or they're queer with a Dalit identity, or they're queer with a Hindu identity, or a Christian identity, or they're a disabled person who's queer. So there are a lot of intersections within the community that needs to be first of all recognized, and also included while we're talking about the community at large. First of all, second of all, the way we should handle teaching this to kids, I mean, it is a sensitive topic. You don't want to give them misinformation or have them, you know, question themselves in a way that would be harmful to them or be harmful to their mental health or physical health, right? So the information, while it sounds a bit gatekeepy, but the information that we do impart to children or to students about the community should, well, be in fact be researched on properly. And I mean, from what I've read upon, from what I've seen around me, a lot of topics that deal with the LGBT community and the intersections within it um, does not have a lot of research. Like, a lot of research isn't happening. I mean, that there is a current wave of research, new research on it, but so far from what we've seen, a lot of the research that has been happening is from a very cishet, able-bodied, um, privileged lens, right? So, before, I mean, it is important that kids know about the community and what it is and who they might be or they might not be, and to do that, we need to be like really careful with what we tell them. And yeah, that's what I would like to end on. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Education is quite a sensitive matter. So let's move on to coming out of the closet. Coming out may be the most commonly shared cultural experience that defines the modern queer identity. Historically, the term was an ironic reference to debutantes coming out into society. In contemporary usage, coming out of the closet means telling another person their true identity. To publicly announce a belief or preference that one has kept hidden, especially one's sexual preferences, is one of the most courageous movements for a member of the LGBTQIA community. Ma'am, would you like to share your thoughts and experiences regarding this?
Regarding my coming out or coming out in general?
Anything of your preference?
Okay, so for me, coming out in general is a very funny idea. I think we can see it in a lot of movies that have come out recently that deal with the community. That they question why should queer people be the ones that are coming out? Why aren't the straights or the cishet people coming out? Why aren't they declaring who they are and they aren't to the world? Um, it is funny to think that I have that onus on me as a queer person to sit and tell people, oh, that I am queer or that I am this, and I can't just be who I want to be without having to declare it. But I came out to a close circle of close friends in the eighth grade, which to me has been an okay experience to in comparison to what I have heard of my other friends or stories shared online about people and their coming out stories. It's relatively has been easy for me coming out to people. I haven't. It's ironical that I'm sitting here in front of a YouTube audience when I haven't come out to my own family. But yeah, um, it's scary. Coming out is scary. It is very scary. You don't know what the other person might think or what they might not think, and how they would react, and um, the rather the lack of reaction they might have. And no matter no matter how positive it might be, there might be that underlying feeling of fear that they might just turn against you because you're queer and that you've come out to them and stuff. um yeah, I mean, coming out is also bravery. I think I should point that out. I mean, those who come out, especially in this world, especially in this country where none of us are safe, um, it is a brave thing to do. It is courageous, and I think I should say this out loud, that I applaud and I stand by anybody who comes out to their parents or to their family or friends, because it's a courageous thing to do, and I'm really proud of you for being true to yourself and for understanding who you are. Um, so yeah.
So would you say that modern cinema, social media, or even pop culture has eased coming out in society for today?
I think it has. I mean, from the early 2000s, I mean, I can speak in for pop culture, it has been easier to come out. I mean, you have a lot of gay characters in movies like Legally Blonde. There's that gay hairdresser. Mean Girls. There's that gay, kid that's with Lindsay Lohan's character, the friend of hers. Although there are stereotypically very problematic, I mean, the portrayal may be a bit problematic, but the fact that there is still representation, I mean, then there's another question of whether or not that representation is enough. Of course, there should be more representation, a better representation for us. But for me, like, I was born in 2001, so like growing up, I did have those. I had the opportunity to be exposed to such pop culture that had a few gay characters here and there. But recently, from what I've seen, like in the past 5 years, it's been magical to see what um, queer stories have been coming out, especially with Heartstopper. I don't know if y'all have watched it, but it's like the cutest story ever. But it has improved. There is still more to go. Of course, we have a long fight. I mean, it's not the end. This is not the end of our fight. We still have a lot to go with respect to our freedom and liberation. Um, but yeah, it's nice that there is a good amount of representation for the kids today. Um, yeah, and I hope it's something that helps them out. Um, so
Definitely.
yeah, yeah.
Representation has been made sweet, rather. So now I would request Drishti to come over and continue.
Thank you, Shreya. I have a bit similar question to what Shreya just asked you. So, Pri, I want to ask, you like recently you just like shared about your life coming out, right? Like coming out of the closet. So, can you tell me what differences there was like before and after coming out of the closet, and like does it add to the social pressure and by how much?
Ooh, that's a question I tackle with my friends all day, every day. That's what we mostly talk about in the NQC. Um, it's been different, of course. I mean, I feel like since coming out, I've realized why I don't fit in with most of my friend groups. There has always been that element of not being able to relate to them in any way. And now that uh, after me coming out in eighth grade, I kind of realized slowly that it was because of my queerness that I wasn't able to relate to them or wasn't able to um, fit in with them. And when I joined Nalsar, my first proper queer experience was with the NQC, the Nalsar Queer Collective, where I met a lot of amazing people, and I finally felt like I was able to be like myself, like my true self within the collective. And I think that's what's helped me be a stronger, more better person than I was, you know, maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago. It's of course different. It's taken a toll on my mental health and my physical health as well. I've started being a lot more anxious around people because I don't know how they would react to me being queer or me being just myself, which is a fat queer person. And it it's scary. I mean, it's obviously more scarier because now anytime I walk down any road, I mean, of course, I'm firstly a femme presenting person. And secondly, me being queer also adds on to that sexual and physical violence that I may face from um, cishet people in general. So it is scarier, it is more nerve wracking, but I feel like I'm more happier, more liberated, and I feel more free than I used to. And yeah, I mean, what was the second part of the question? I'm sorry.
It was like, does it add to the social pressure, and by how much does it add?
It does, of course, it does add to the social pressure. I mean, when I think it was Shreya who did the introduction of the panelist when she said that I was a proud pansexual non-binary person. I think most of you thought I should have like a buzz cut with like multiple piercings and like have like a very goth look. But I'm here sat before you in like Indian clothes, like earrings and a long hair and with nail paint and lipstick on. I mean, society from from what I've seen on social media expects us to you know present ourselves in a certain way. Queer people are supposed to be more flamboyant, more extravagant, more fabulous. I mean, cishet people can't imagine queerness without having that element of, well, I wouldn't say sparkle, but firework. I mean, if you see a queer person, you expect them to have that firework within them. So it does add to the pressure of me just presenting myself. How do I look non-binary enough? Do I look not, do I look pansexual enough for these people? Um, yeah, so it does definitely add a lot of societal pressure um, on us as queer people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So the next question of mine is like, with increasing education and information available about the community, it is our responsibility to be mindful of the practices that we uphold and teach those around us, right? So what is your take on this?
I mean, of course, we have to be mindful with what we tell people. Um, you don't know who you're talking to. You don't know what they're going through personally with what they're battling with. Maybe their question to when they ask you a question is it has to do with something that they're battling with within themselves. So being careful about what I mean, of course, there will be the occasional accidental slip ups here and there. But when I say being careful about what you're saying, I mean being careful about, I mean, or rather being more exact and more precise of what you're saying, being more sure of what you're saying. And being queer, the whole concept and identity of queerness is very complex. You have so many, like within the queer identity itself, you have things ranging from sexual identities to gender identities to romantic identities as well. And you also do have body politics within it as well. You do also have religious identities, caste identities, and also class identities. And you can't just give a blanket statement about um, important, like you can't give blanket statements like a lot of people. Well, this is a more transphobic, homophobic comment that I've seen a lot lately, especially within like well, it wouldn't be rather okay. So, anyways, it is like people saying that two men can't have a natural baby. When I say natural baby, I mean someone that's come out of your body. I mean, when people say something like that, whether you're saying it to a queer person or if a queer person themselves are saying it, I mean, again, misinformation is everywhere. You To be more sure and not exactly correct of what you're saying, to be more sure and more um, well, I think sensitive of what you're saying, you need to like read up on stuff yourself before you go on to educate people, right? So when people make such blanket statements of whether two men can or cannot make have a baby, a natural baby for themselves, you need to understand the complexities. Maybe that one of the men are a trans man, and they do have the facilities or abilities to have a baby and stuff. So reading up on it and researching more personally first should be like the first step, and then go on to like spread whatever information you have. So it's vital when you're sharing information to people that, I mean, to bring the point home so that I don't ramble around much. I think you just need to be well, I mean, you just need to have access to those kind of knowledge, and just try to like learn and unlearn yourself first before going around to like educate other people. So yeah.
Thank you, Pri, and I do agree Heartstopper is the cutest show ever. Next, we are having Advocate Avantika ma'am. Hello, ma'am. I can't hear you.
Hello.
Hi, yeah, I can hear you. How are you?
Hi. All good, all good. Yes.
So as we're discussing the struggles of the community, so ma'am, can you please elucidate as how the laws in India are able to help the community, and where do they fall short? Like, is it easy for a person from the LGBTQ community to register FIR? And what if some public servant is exploiting him or her? Does the system have checks in place?
All right. So, when we talk about our law, as in how this are protecting LGBT community, so in when it comes to FIR, when you go and get an FIR filed, so after Lalita Kumari versus Union of India, it was a leading judgment where it was made mandatory that even if whenever there is a complaint comes, and then you have to file an FIR for that matter. But when someone from a third gender, or you can say, goes and they go approaches the police station, you will see that there's a lot of discrimination that happens. Then generally the police persons, I'm not pointing to any particular public authority, right? But I'm just saying, whenever you approach, then you do not get that kind of support that you expect out of people who are in service, who are there for protection, giving to you social security, or let's say you start working on things that may happen, right? So yeah, that kind of things, if you say, even our law, if you there's an bill that was passed, Major Nalsa judgment, where it was like, yeah, it was a major judgment where the transgender protection person protection bill 2019 was passed, right? So you can see 2019, so it's just recently, if you come across, yeah, laws are there. There's right to educate, right not to get discriminated. Our constitution is also for article 14, 15, 16, 21 is talking about, right, giving the giving the third gender the recognition that is required. Because if you go to our constitution and say, the preamble says there's equality, for all, every person is equal before law, right? But when it comes to the implementation of those laws, yeah, that is where we are lacking, right? So that kind of expectation that you might have, even for the minorities, it's the same, right? The woman also faces that kind of the second, being a second, as in the gender, they are also being faced a lot of discrimination. Same, if you can say, even more, since when it comes to second gender, okay, women are there, but women are also minority. But when they comes there's a third gender there, oh my god, you don't talk about it. Law is there to protection, but if you say law is only in books, right?
Yeah.
There have been a lot as in, when people have come out, as you were talking, that people are coming out of the closet, they're recognizing their own self, right? So when this kind of things, you're coming forward, you're putting your thoughts, your work, that how are you feeling, right? So it is not something bad about it, right? So if the gender is something, you cannot be very much, okay, I will choose this gender, I'll choose that. It is on you, right? So it's a personal choice, or you can say it is something which is god gifted, or maybe some whatever it is. So it is not something, right? So you cannot just say that, okay, the discrimination can be based on this point, right? So if there's a provisions for the FIR, and the police station, you go to police station, there's no registration, right? The police says, okay, no, they judge you, right? Okay,
Yeah.
so that's where we see where we are lacking. Yeah.
Okay, so can you elaborate on like some of the landmark judgments that have affected the community?
Yeah. So in the recent times, I remember, I think 2009, there was NAS Foundation case, which was the leading case that came out, and which, actually, for the very first time, 377 was made unconstitutional. Yeah. So that was the very first time it came. Recently, one major judgment was the, National Legal Services Authority versus Union of India, which recognized, certain rights, and a bill was passed, right? So this bill was the Transgender Person Protection Bill, right?
Yeah.
2019. And that this bill, you recognize the rights, right? Right not to get discriminated on any basis, right? Discrimination, why you should be discriminated for any
Yeah.
matter, right? So, like, then, right to educate, right to get education, right? Then there's right to get employed. So there was this judgment, where, when a person was appearing for some exam, it came to know that, the gender, uh, she was a transgender, there was a third gender with her, and her employment got cancelled. So it's such a big thing. So you're not canceling the employment on the basis of, the score, the other criterias which are there, just because of the gender,
Yeah.
right? So right to get employed is one of the right which got recognized. Then right to get medical aid, right? Healthcare, and then right to get services which are for public use. Let's suppose rights to any accommodation, facilities, goods, services which are meant for public use, they can be accessed by them, right? Then there's right to property, right to movement, right? So, you can buy a property, or you can, occupy that property, sell that property. So that's, you see, that's where we have to provide those rights,
Yeah.
in for them. Recognition of identity, welfare measures, social welfare, healthcare measures, right? And rehabilitation and residents right to rehabilitate, right? Then there are, then article 14, 15, 16, there's actually the recognition of gender. So that is what is the major thing, that the gender has been recognized. See, there was no gender as such, right? If you come, when you talk about this case, and before that, this bill, right? And times before, if we talk about 20, 30 years back, right? So there was no gender such, no recognition in law. So if the gender is not recognized, then how can you provide, the law can help them,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
protection, how can be provided? So that is why it's a major judgment. This judgment came on, and then it recognized that there's this gender, and on the basis of recognition, the further right to vote, right? Every right was provided, whichever, in the constitution is given to a normal person. So in the definition of person, right? So there was a third gender which was actually got incorporated. Then there was Immoral Traffic and Prevention Act 1956, that also recognized the gender, right? Male, female, and the third gender was there. So then there was this, before this, 2019 Transgender Protection Bill, there was 2014 Rights of Transgender Persons. So there was rights which were provided in 2014, and in 2019 there was Protection Bill, right? So they need to be protected. since being a minority. So wherever you go, minority faces such kind of discrimination. So it's not here in third world countries, second world, everywhere, wherever there's a minority. A minority can mean many types. So minority is the person, matlab, as in they are generally, if you see in second world, third world developing nations, right? Because our society is not able to accept it. That's the problem. First of all, we need to accept it about our identity. We need to be, be open about it. We need to come out of the closet, right? And then the society needs to accept it, right? So if there will be preventive laws, I'm not saying if there are preventive laws, then the society will be very good. There are a lot of preventive laws which are made, on women, but still the major case that happened, the IPC was made so stricter, the criminal law, since rapes are happening, right? So it's not about just tricking the law, right? That's one part that comes out, right? What is required majorly is the society in general being open and acceptable,
Yeah.
right? What I am liking, I am liking. What I'm not liking, I'm not liking, and I'm very neutral about it. So you should also be in a position, right? The society should also, and who are those society? The people, our family, our other family, the relatives, the people where we generally go and survive our, atmosphere. Yeah. So that is also very important, right? Then there was one judgment, if I remember, it was Nangai versus Superintendent of Police. Yeah, this was the judgment which I was telling you, that the woman police constable, she lost her employment just because while doing her medical examination, it was, it came to the light that she belonged to, matlab, that person belonged to a third gender, right?
Yeah.
So that on that basis her employment got cancelled. So that was also. And then there was Arun Kumar versus Inspector of General, where, you know the trans women world, the in Hindu Marriage Act, right? So female brides include trans women person also. So these were the major judgments. And then there are also governmental measures also, right? Which have come up during these times. But in all, we would just say that these measures, these laws are not at all, matlab, they are working at their level. But when it comes to the enforcement, when it comes down to the ground where you and me are surviving, are living, right? So where it comes as a problem, because we are unable to accept in our so-called society.
It's more theoretical, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
So,
that's where, yeah.
yeah. So, I wanted to ask, like, you being in the corporate world and living a corporate life, have you like come across discrimination against the LGBTQI community?
Yeah. So generally corporates, like, there was this mentioning before, then everyone says, oh, we're working, right? We're working, there's posts like that there, uh, the notice board says, okay, we are all equal and everyone is there. But when it comes down the lane, when it comes, there are discrimination. So I am, as in, there are
Also,
undoubted.
what are your thoughts on corrective rapes? What what is your thinking towards it?
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Hello.
Can you hear me? Hello?
Hello.
Can you hear me? I can hear you.
I think there's some. Hello.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So
Yes.
my My question was, can you like share your viewpoint on what you think about corrective rape?
Yeah. So yeah, that's a very trending. You can say that corrective rapes. See what is happening. Like I am getting out of. Let's see. I am getting out of my closet, right? I am trying to accept my own self, right? I belong to this community, right? Then what I'll do, the next step comes, like you are getting it, or you get yourself open with your friends or family, whoever you think is is closer to you, right? So you go and tell to your parents, right? Okay, so now it becomes very challenging for people now, as in how are they going to react and accept. So corrective rape, if you can say, it comes from that way. The parents are forcing their children, you can say, to have the sexual intercourse. They're forcing, because they feel that this is going to bring you on the right path.
Yeah.
So this is where you see, tomorrow ko, if you will see, there's something bad has happened to you, maybe, oh my god, if goes something goes to the middle class Indian family, oh my god, what has happened? Oh, okay, I think there's some bad omen has hit you. Okay. Oh my god, if you tell you about you being homosexual, oh my god, I'm attracted to the same sex. Oh, no, 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 no. So these corrective rapes, these have come, in last 5-7 years. There have been a lot of reports about the rape, because you've been forced to have sex. If see, no means no. If I don't feel like having sex, any person, I am not going to have it, right? So if you're forcing, right, and then there's no legal recourse for that matter. So how, if the police will work if the parents say, oh my god, this person is having sex with the same, the police used to work in that manner. Oh my god, you're having something very bad before this 377 thing, right? And now this corrective rape, if you say, oh my, there's nothing like that mentioned, you know mm, like, okay, it's called a discipline project designed to generally cure and correct the homosexuality. If you'll have sex with the other gender, you might get uh, the right, this is what you should have, what you require, that's the require of your body, and you've gone to the right path. That
Yeah.
happens, that might be a bad omen that might have hit you and you've gone to the wrong path. So it's not about going to the wrong path. It's like naturally or like that. It's just about the acceptance, right? Maybe at the later stage, when you that's a different thing. But when naturally things come out, right, so you need to have it to accept it. If I'm a woman, I'm a born woman, I cannot think of being a man, because naturally, by from the initially I've been grown like that. I've given that kind of nurturing has been given to me, right? So that's how it is. So the acceptance of your own self, then coming out of your closet, expressing your views and thoughts, sharing with your loved one, not loved one, about the person you think can actually understand you, right? And then third thing that comes out is when you actually, the people start accepting you. The people, you do not meet the whole society, obviously, right? So the people whom you think are a part of your family and whom you think should accept it. And if there's no acceptance, then it's okay. That's their choice. That's the thing, they have chosen it, not you. Then I've seen people who are actually, oh my god, the family is not going to accept me. What should we do? We should not tell it to the family. No, come out with family, let them decide what is important to them, what actually means. Is their kid important, or is the what society will think about this reaction is important? Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. I would like to ask the same question to Pri. I would like to know your thoughts on it.
Thank you. I mean, Avantika ma'am, you've really captured everything really well. Thank you so much.
You're looking so pretty. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. You too. um, I think, I mean, corrective rape. Um, it's a horrible, horrible, um, horrible thing that could happen to one person. Especially, I mean, rape period is a horrible thing that one could go to, and rape to correct someone's identity or the way they think or the way they feel is even more hard for me as a person. And I think hopefully all of you, as people, as humans, to like wrap your head around like why would someone want to do that to another person. um, and it's sad. Like, I mean, I am a law student. I'm in my third year now, and to think
That's
that, um, the law that I'm going to study, the law that is in place right now, that structure which was put into place in the first place to protect human beings. I mean, if I'm not sure if people are aware of the social contract theory. I mean, it was all a contract for us to feel more safer and more protected, and the state to have more control over us. Um, and it's failing. And the fact that there is no legal recourse saddens me even more.
Hmm.
I mean, but then again, legal recourse in itself is not the only thing that will help protect people
Yes.
from corrective rape. It needs to be a societal structural change in the mindsets of the people that being queer or being gay or being lesbian is not an evil thing. It's not a bad thing. And it's people's upbringing. I mean, it's the way that they were brought up. I mean, it's I can't really blame the parents only, but rather their parents and the parents before them. There's just a generational blame that I can put on for a corrective rape. Um, it's sad um, that I've like it's just sad. It's honestly very hard to even think about something happening like this to any of my close friends, let alone me. Um, um, so it changes you. I mean, of course, it changes you not for the better, but for the worse. Being having to like go through that just because you think a certain way, because you feel a certain way. I mean, we're all humans. I mean, it's a very kumbaya statement to say that we're all humans and we all have our right to think the way we want to, and no one should force us to think the other way around. But it is a reality that's going on, and I think it will go on for a long time until we do something about it. I think until we take action against it, not only legal action but also structural action against, not against, but also help those people who who uphold the institution of corrective rape, the ones who allow it to happen. We should help them out as well, to like kind of see where they're coming from, to like understand where they're coming from, as well as and help them change their way they're thinking. Like help them come to the light and see what beauty they're kind of ruining, the beauty that their child is, that they're ruining by allowing them to be raped for just feeling a certain way or for just being a person. So yeah, that's what I stand on corrective rape. I mean, you can't really be for corrective rape
Yeah.
unless you want to be inhuman. So yeah.
Okay, so my next question is to you only, Pri. So, in a tweet, Nalsar announced that a floor of one of their blogs will now have a signboard that reads gender neutral. Can you explain what that means? How is it unique? Like, how is it that different from any other university?
Okay, so we do have a floor in the G7, which is officially gender neutral. And when they say gender neutral, they mean anybody could stay in that room, and it's not allowing. I mean, it doesn't uphold the true essence of gender neutral, which is allowing um, all gender identities to stay in that floor, but rather just gender and sexual minorities to stay in that floor, because they are more at risk if they were to be put in the boys' hostel. But that's not the only thing. We do also have a gender neutral washroom, just one though. I mean, it is not a big thing, but it is a small step, I guess, towards
Yeah.
something bigger. And And a lot of people were saying that we were the first university to do this, which I would like to disagree with. TISS hasn't has that whole has a whole gender neutral hostel that we were inspired from to start with our policy towards a gender neutral hostel and a gender neutral campus as well. And also, I'm kind of deviating from your question. I hope that my little explanation of what gender neutral
No,
means
no, yeah.
kind of helps.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I wanted to talk about how we came up with this idea. Not came up with it like originally, but just how we started talking about this idea. And from what I've seen, what I've heard from my seniors and from what they've heard from their seniors, there were a group of people, group of minority people, especially the Dalit, Adivasi, Bahujan, and Muslim communities within campus that were working towards a gender new, I mean, a more a hostel space where everybody could live without having to, be fearful for their lives, because within the BH, within the GH, as a gender and sexual minority, or as any minority, is pretty scary. It is very intense because, again, like I said, it is oppression. No, not like I said, but it's just marginalization and oppression that a lot of minorities face within the hostel spaces. Um, okay, am I still here? Am I still clear and audible and seen?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, cool, cool, cool.
So,
Um,
like, I'm sorry, I'm cutting you off.
yeah.
Like, this, I'm gonna add like an additional question.
Yeah.
Like, you sharing your journey like about the whole collective. Can
Yeah.
you like also talk about like, did you ever think of giving up the struggle? Like, was it too much at one point? And like, what was your motivation to like, continue the whole process?
I constantly think of giving up the struggle,
Yeah.
giving up all of this, just wanting to chill out in a private island and be on the beach and swim.
Yeah,
That's
don't
a
we
privilege
all?
that yeah, I mean that's a privilege that not a lot of us are awarded with. It is a constant struggle. It is constantly a struggle for the NQC as a whole to kind of have something going on, because a lot of people are going through a lot of different things, and it's more of a safe space, more of an informal collective rather than a formal collective that's dedicated to just doing more work for queer people, but rather, and it also it's a combination of both. It's both a safe space and a place where people come with ideas to, like, you know share and stuff. But then again, not all queer people in Nalsar are part of the collective, so we do have queer people outside the collective who have helped us, who have helped individuals like me and the collective as well in trying to achieve a more safer Nalsar, a more safe space in Nalsar. Um, and not just queer people only. I mean, there are a lot of minorities and have also helped us along our journey to make Nalsar a more safer space. And I hope, as the collective, as a member of a collective, I hope that the collective has also, you know, helped and um, given them that support that they gave us in their journey for their journey of making Nalsar a more safer space for them, for their identities. So yeah.
Okay. So, like I don't think you answered. Like, what was your motivation of like continuing the process?
Oh, continue motivation for continuing with it.
Yeah.
Um, my motivation is to be more free. I like freedom. I like liberation. I
Mm.
want to be liberated. I want my brothers and sisters and my friends and my families to be more liberated, to be more free. I want the world to be a better place. I want the circle around me to be a better place.
Yeah.
I I I I just want to have the luxury, the happiness, the freedom that cishet people have, that the oppressors have. I mean, I just wish and I hope that my friends and I get to reach that place, my community, my collective, and I get to reach that place at some point. And that's my motivation. My motivation is to reach that level of freedom, that level of nirvana, that level of liberation, that level of peace. I mean, we don't get to have peace at all. As queer, as minority identities, we don't get to have peace. We're constantly struggling, we're constantly fighting within our collectives, within our communities, and people outside our communities, inter communities are fighting with each other. And it's just a constant struggle. And sister people are just sitting there chilling, like, okay, cool, what's up? I'm like, no, I want that peace as well. I want my community to be peaceful as well. So, yeah, that's my motivation, and that's what keeps me going, I think, hopefully. So,
Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you so much. Okay, so like moving on from this amazing answer. So now we're gonna play a video made by an ally sharing her support towards the community.
Despite of their sexuality, gender, etc. And for me, pride means respecting and giving equality to everyone despite of their identity, whether they are different from you or similar from you, and to accept everyone as who they are. Let's walk out of life and feel the sense of accepted and accepting. Let's spread love, happiness, and equality, and make a society a better place to live. Happy Pride once again.
So we have to accept it. Like today, homosexuality and queer identities may be acceptable to more Indian youths more than ever before. But within the boundaries of family, home, school, acceptance of their sexuality and freedom to openly express their gender's choices still remain a constant struggle for the LGBTQ community. And I think throughout the previous questions, we saw Pri telling us how, she's restricted to express it in only certain places and how she couldn't come out to our parents, right? So, what would you say the LGBTQ community expects from other people? That might be the government, the Supreme Court, or family, friends, and society.
I'm sorry, I think my internet went off for a bit. Can you please repeat your question? I'm really
Yes.
sorry.
Yes. So to bring change, the support of the society is the most important thing. Like
Yeah.
we just have certain sections where you can be like you can freely express your identity, and that constraint can only be removed when the entire society is able to support you. So, what are the LGBTQ community's expectations of other people? That might be the government, Supreme Court, even your friends, your family, and society. What would you say your expectations are?
I think to kind of give a one liner, don't speak for us, let us speak for ourselves. We don't want y'all to be our advocates. We can be our own advocates. We can teach ourselves to speak for ourselves. We are constantly learning more about ourselves, more about the community, more about our friends and their communities as well. And the I think one interesting fact I'd like to share with you said government, and that kind of struck a chord in me. When the when the Trans Act was being, debated on within the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha, I read the, I wouldn't say transcript, but I read like the debates that were going on for a project I had in pol science. Um, I was analyzing the act in that project, but when I read those transcripts, when I read those debates, not one mention of, well, another trans person with uh, what is that word, present um, in the debates. Not one representation from the trans community. One minister went to a group of trans people, spoke to them, and then came and said, okay, this is what they want. No, why don't you ask us directly while you're debating, while you're in that AC chamber of yours? Why don't you come? Why don't you invite us in? Why don't you ask us questions? Why don't you hear us out and then start debating on whether or not you should accept this or not. Why? Like the first step, the crucial, important step that most people miss out is just to listen to the person, just hear us out, what we have to say, right? I mean, even with friends, this thing could be like translated down to a friend group, right? When there is a friend group that may be politically active on social media or whatever, there are a lot of political movements happening in like on social platforms that reflect what's happening around in society around us, right? So when my straight friends have something to say about um, anything queer, I can only talk about queer people and fat people. But when they talk about a judgment that has been passed or how it was passed or whatever it is, they fail to consider queer voices. They fail to listen to queer voices. Even when people in my university are writing papers on us, they fail to mention, they fail to talk to us and like try and listen to what we have to say or try to understand what complexities or what the essence of the issue is. I mean, they can write in fancy English and just try to get their point across and like, get published in whatever research journal. But you are, as a straight person or as a straight friend, or even queer people do that. I'm not saying that we're absolved from this, not listening to people. When queer people do that, they don't listen to other identities that they don't listen to the other minority groups. But the first step is to just actually sit down and listen, have an open mind, have an open, honest discussion about it. And, then that's where things will start. That's where things should start, right? And I think slowly, with that first step, slowly societal change will be brought upon. But if no one is interested in taking that small step, then there's no point in wanting to have a societal change because there won't be any, and it'll just be wishful thinking. So yeah.
Right, voice and agency are the need of the time. So I now, as we discussed, right, is society support is the most important. So how to be an ally is something that we all need to know and discuss, right? The community needs all the support it can get, and being a good ally is the duty of every member of the society. Before that, we have Ernie from GirlUp Jabalpur here with a message for today's occasion. Ernie, the stage is yours.
Yeah, before that, somebody could please share the PPT. I'll start with that if it's that okay. By the time they're doing that, I would like to introduce myself. Hello, everyone. My name is Ernie. I pronounce as she and her. And I'm the founding co-president of GirlUp Jabalpur, which is a club based in Jabalpur, Madhya Pradesh. And so on behalf of everyone here, I would like to wish everyone a very happy Pride Month. And not just actually Pride Month, just happy Pride, because Pride should be celebrated every month. Moving forward, could you please switch the slide? Okay. So there's this small message from GirlUp Jabalpur's end, and it goes out to everyone who identifies as queer, whether you are out or closeted, whether you are labeled, unlabeled, or questioning. Whatever part of journey that you are in, you are valid. Most of the time, people think that, if you don't have a defined label, you are not as valid, or if you're questioning and you identified as one thing before and now you think that it does not really encapsulates everything you feel, it is not okay for you to change that, but it is, and it is all valid. And whether you're ready to share your truth with the world, or whether you're just like posting some subtle memes on your Instagram and trying to get comfortable with yourself, it is okay. And the people who really care for you and love for you will always be there, and they will always support you. And whether not they accept you is you know is not a reflection of who you are. you know if they accept you, that is so good, and as everybody should. But if they don't, it is not going to invalidate your identity. And at the end of the day, just don't forget to celebrate yourself and the ones around you, and be as loud as you wish to be as proud as you want to be. And yeah, happy Pride Month to everyone who is celebrating. Moving forward, you could switch this slide. So I'm here to talk about how to be an ally or how to be a better ally. So basically, being an ally is a lot like being a good friend to somebody. And there are a few pointers that I have in which we all can work upon in order to be better support system for people who identify as queers. Please move the slide ahead. Okay, so the first one that we have is recognize your privilege and use it for good. It is possibly one of the most important part and the most the first step as well. You can move the slide as well, now. So basically recognizing the privilege. So as you may have heard now, many of them shared their stories and their experiences. You must have realized that you might not have had the same experiences. Like you could just as easily be with somebody and nobody would have questioned your relationship or your gender identity. But most of the people don't have that privilege. Most of the people are discriminated on the basis of their gender identity or their sexuality, which is honestly worse because everybody should be allowed to be how they want to express themselves or who they want to be with, and realizing that your experiences have some privilege that you don't get to face the discrimination is the first step. Realizing that you hold some privilege is so important. And that feeling of that having privilege can lead to have some kind of discomfort or anger. You may feel anger and you may feel discomfort because you may feel, oh, I have had similar experiences. And while you may have had, it will never be exactly like how queer people may have had. So just realize that you hold some privilege, and just realizing is not the answer. Using it for good, that is what that matters. Using it for good. Now that you've realized that you hold some privilege, use that for good. Give platform to queer voices, show them some spotlight, and as Pri said that hear them out. Don't steal their voices. Don't be their voice. Hear their voices, give them the spotlight, and amplify those voices. For so long they've been shoved back into the corner. Now we should give them the chance to come out in front and share their experiences and be out there and give them the chance to am I still okay? Yeah, great. So basically, yes, use your privilege for good. Moving ahead, you can go to the second point. Yes, so ask educated questions and do your own research. I cannot stress this enough, just how important it is to do your own research, and that too from good resources, because with the advent of technology, there are so many articles and there are so many papers that talk about homosexuality or gender identity, and not all of them are going to be credible sources. And you can also move ahead the slide. So doing your own research, finding out material which is credible is important. And you should basically, if growing up we were never taught what is LGBTQ community, we ourselves have somehow found out what it meant. And so everybody has done their own research, has educated themselves. So it is not exactly a new thing for people. And I hopefully in the future we can have ways in which we can teach kids from the very young age, so they don't think it as, oh, this is very alien, or oh, this is very weird. So but as long as that change is not brought upon, we will have to educate ourselves. So do that. Do your own research. And also, while that is there, you should also probably ask people from the community about their experiences, but don't expect them to share their experiences. One of the best ways that you can talk to them is through these panel discussions, which is such an amazing initiative, because all of the people here agreed to share their experiences, whether they were good or bad, and talk about and possibly clear some doubts or questions that you may have about the community. But you cannot expect that from every other queer person, because some of the times their experiences might be traumatic and they don't want to relive that. So try to understand their point of view, and don't make them validate their existence for your understanding. So the second point will be to educate yourself. Recognize that you have privilege, educate yourself about the issues and what the community is about, and how it is a beautiful community. Moving ahead, you can switch this slide. So yes, get comfortable with being uncomfortable. So when you are learning how to be an ally, when you're learning about the community, you make mistakes, or maybe you read somewhere that you can also move ahead the slide, or maybe there are a lot of discrimination that exists, right? And there is a lot of communication or misinformation that exists. So, one example could be that, bisexuality is not real, or, it is, people are just promiscuous, or, so all these things, knowing that these things exist and you might have had the misinformation, but when somebody corrects you, learn that, correct yourself, say sorry, apologize, and move ahead. And you will make mistakes, but moving ahead, make sure that you are not doing it. And one of the examples could also be somebody shared you their pronouns and you don't use them properly. You are just getting acquainted, you're getting used to it. So you can make mistakes. It's human to make mistakes. Correct yourself, apologize, and move ahead. Don't dwell on it, and don't try to make it a point. Oh, I'm an ally, I'm sorry I did this and everything. So basically, yes, that's that. You can move ahead. Yes, so don't invalidate their experiences. So if somebody shares that I am a lesbian, don't say that, oh, well, you've never been with one, how do you know for sure? Or just trying to find out, do you really know that you are one? It's their identity. They must have thought about it for so long, or they must have already know who they are. So don't invalidate their experiences. Don't try to say that, oh, are you sure? Or or like you have to somehow, they have to validate their existence, just so that you can understand them better. And obviously, as a cishet person, you will never exactly know what they're going through. When they're sharing their experiences, don't be like, oh, I know what you're going through, or I feel exactly like that, because you don't. And so yes, don't invalidate somebody's experiences. You can move ahead. Yes, don't ask intrusive questions. So most of the time, people have questions about if somebody from the same sex is together. So how does exactly intimacy works for you, or how did you come across that this is what you identify with? And if somebody is not okay with sharing their experiences, first of all, you should create this safe space that they feel okay to communicate or tell their experiences. And if they feel okay to share, then it's fine. But again, expectation, queer people don't owe it to people to explain their identities, or to again validate their existence so that you can understand them better, or talking about just their body parts or sexual behaviors, because queer is just one identity that they hold. It is not a sum of everything that they are. It is just a part of them, and you making it about just that, just makes them feel reduced. And so ask educated question, gut check yourself, if it is appropriate to ask them. Yes, you can move ahead. Yes, so listen and be there for them. And again, as Pri said before, most of the time people don't really listen to queer experiences. They go through articles, they go through things, and they formulate their own opinions and make their own conclusions. But for so long, queer people have been shoved into corner. They've not been given platform to speak. They've not been given the spotlight. And now is the time that we give them that. and amplify their voices. That is what it is about. Amplify them. Don't be their voice, amplify their voice. And when somebody is sharing their experiences, just hear them out. You don't have to, how I said before, I feel exactly how you said, or, if somebody is sharing you their experiences, keep it to yourself. They probably don't feel comfortable sharing it with other people. So again, being an ally is not like being a good friend. If a friend is sharing you their secrets or their experiences, you don't go about telling it to other people. So if they're not comfortable with that, so please don't do that. So just be there for them, be a support system for them as you are for your friends, and listen to them, really hear them. And you can move ahead. Okay, so speak up. So most of the times, you must have come across this situation where you are sitting with your friends and somebody made a very insensitive remark about the community, or it was probably a joke. It was just for fun and laugh. Oh, nobody is here from the community, and we can just have a gala time. So that is wrong. If you stand for some beliefs, you stand up for them, whether it is even your friend who's making that remark, stand up to them, correct them that this is how it can be damaging to the community. You can also change the slide, please. And speak up. Your allyship should not be limited to when there is an queer person in your environment, or by your side. You should be a vocal ally all year long, whenever it is possible for you to be, because that privilege never really goes away, does it? Whether you are at home, whether you are at your college or school, or wherever you are, you hold that privilege every day, every waking moment. And so you should be using that for good every day. Advocate for the people whose voices are shut down. So all these moments where you find out that people are being insensitive or they are being damaging to the community, make it a teachable moment. And you might be labeled as this person who is always kind of being a bummer or party pooper, but it's fine. When you believe in something, you stand up for it no matter what. Moving ahead, you can move ahead. So yes, with that, basically there were these very few limited points where we talk about how you can be an ally or be a better one, and there's no exactly a time frame that you follow all these steps and you are going to be a better ally, or you know once you are being an ally, once you are a good ally, there's no better way for you to be one. So it is a process, it is a journey, and make sure that you do your best, because for so long the people from the community have been discriminated, and they really fear for their lives. When you really think about it, it's very saddening when just for who they are targeted, and that's wrong. And if you hold any privilege, use it for good and make this a better world, because, and especially as youths, we do have the power to make a change for our upcoming generation, obviously. And in the future, let's just hope that people don't are not afraid to be who they are and can express how they want to and live a happy life, and just be free and liberated. And yes, so again, a happy pride, and we see you, we hear you, and we love you. And thank you so much for having me here and giving me the time to talk about this. And all the best to everyone who's going to come next. And yeah, that's it from my end. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you so much. Now there are some stereotypes which we hear a lot about the LGBTQ community on a very daily basis. So, being a member of the community, what is your take on this? So, the first one is, sorry, the first one is bisexuals are just confused.
Okay, bisexual men are just bisexuals are just confused. Yeah, yeah, we're confused between who we want to like. we have an array of gender identities that we would like to get with, if you get what I'm saying. But no, bisexual people aren't confused. They just happen to like more than one gender identity. And I think that's an okay thing. I mean, if you like, I mean, just take food, for example. You like Maggie and you like chocolate. That doesn't mean you're a confused person. If you have Maggie and chocolate in front of you, you'd want to have either one of them, right? So like,
Yeah.
you're not confused. You just want to have them both. I mean, it's bizarre with some stereotypes that people spew out against the LGBT community. But yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with this. Even people who are pansexual, Pri is a pansexual. People are like pansexual and bisexual are the same thing, but they are not. So these are the things which actually face. It's just that if you like Maggie, doesn't mean I can't like any other thing, or maybe a chocolate, or maybe a toffee, or something else. So yeah.
Okay. The second one is effeminate men are gay and want to be women. Sorry.
um Effeminate men are gay and want to be women. No. Effeminism, or just being feminine or being masculine, is not wanting to be a gender identity or wanting to be a sexual identity. It is just a way of expressing. Today, I could dress up like this. I'm a femme presenting person. I could dress up feminine and I will appear more feminine. That doesn't make me an effeminate woman or an effeminate person who wants to be a woman. That just makes me a person that's dressing up as a woman. Tomorrow, I can just wear baggy clothes, like, a trouser and like a very quote unquote manly shirt, and just dress up more butch or more manly or more masculine, and just feel more masculine, be more masculine. But that doesn't mean that I'm a more masculine person that wants to be a man. That I don't it The way you express yourself through fashion, through hair choices, or through shoes, through clothes, whatever it is, even music, even the way you write, whatever it is, the way you express yourself does not correlate to how you identify or who you are as a person. It's just the way you express yourself to society and to another person. Honestly, it's just a presentation. I mean, you could present, again, food, because I really like food. You can present food in many different ways. You can present Maggie in a cup. You can present Maggie in a plate. That doesn't mean that Maggie is a cup food or Maggie is a plate food. It's just food in different forms or different places. That's about it. I mean, it's just dressing that's different. I mean, the person who you are inside is doesn't change with what you present to people out. So I mean, there's just I don't know. Maybe who knows? I mean, like, it's just I can't. It boggles my mind.
Sir, what is your take on this?
Exactly, I agree with Pri about this, and I want to add this thing. If people also stereotype this thing that if he is a gay, then he must be feminine, and if she is a lesbian or non-binary person, then she must be masculine, having boy haircut and all that stuff. So this is just their way of living their lifestyle. So there is nothing like if he or she is a homosexual, only then he can be feminine or maybe a masculine. So yeah, it's just a stereotype.
Okay, so the next one is they are just spoiled brats who got a wrong upbringing.
Who are spoiled brats? I'm sorry.
People from the community.
Oh, I wish we were spoiled brats. Ooh, how I wish I was spoiled by my parents for being queer. How I wish that were true. No, we're not spoiled. I mean, I wish we were spoiled. I wish we had luxury growing up, but we didn't. We just don't. I I wish it were true. That's like my only thing that I'll continue saying. No, we're not spoiled. We know we don't have a wrong upbringing. People from the Mormon church, and they're like the strictest sect of Christianity. They just are very conservative, right? People from the Mormon church who have that Mormon upbringing, there are so many people from the Mormon church who are gay, who are lesbian, or who are part of the community. You have Muslim queer people, you have Hindu queer people, you have Christian queer people, you have different. I mean, again, I'm just equating upbringing with also religious takes as well, because religion does play a part in one's upbringing, or rather, the lack of religion does play a part in one's upbringing, right? So it's not it's not a personality trait. Queerness is not a personality trait. It doesn't develop over time. It is something that's inherent within yourself. It's something that you feel. It's something that's there in you mentally. It's something that's there in you naturally. I mean, I could develop into a narcissistic person over the next few years. I could develop some sort of anxiety disorder in the next few years. But that's just things that develop. I mean, I could be a kinder person in the next few years as a personality trait. I could just be a more kinder person. But queerness is not that. I can't develop some sort of queerness over the next few years and be like, yeah, okay. But realizing that you're queer it differs from people to people. Realizing that you're queer, that's not the same as developing queerness, right? So, no, we're not spoiled brats. And no, we didn't have a wrong upbringing. I just wish we had that love, that affection, that spoiledness, in just, I wish we were spoiled. So, yeah.
Sir.
So I think pre covered everything. I just want to say that yes, I also want to be the richy rich. So yeah.
Okay, so the next one is why do they want to marry if they can't reproduce?
Okay. May I go first, Pre, if you don't mind? Yeah, so it's not just about reproducing, like to have babies. After marriage, you are like, if someone is like facing domestic violence, or maybe he or she wants to get divorced, or any other laws, for an example, he want to get property. So we are fighting for that too. Like, we want to get married as a heterosexual couple. They are married and they enjoy all that laws. So we also want to do that. We as a person, I'm a homosexual person, and I love babies, but adoption, I think adoption is only the way for me to have babies. But there is no adoption laws for the homosexual person. So not only the reproduction, but there are so many other laws for which we want to get married. So yeah.
For me personally, I mean, my thoughts on marriage is a private thing, but in general, I can say um, marriage is one institution that humans hold sacred. You have that institution in every religious institution that you see. Even a, I mean, sorry, even aesthetic. I was going to say aesthetic people. Sorry, even people who don't believe in religion, who don't believe in God, value marriage as an institution that brings two people together. Or polyamorous marriages also exist in certain communities. So it just brings people together. It brings families together. Marriage as an institution does that. We're not looking to marry to reproduce. Rather, we're looking to marry to be with the person that we love in that upheld sacred institution, as so many cishet couples have. They have that way to that sacred institution. They have that access to that sacred institution, and we just are simply asking for that same access to that institution. So, I mean, again, you don't have to necessarily reproduce. I mean, a lot of cishet married couples also don't reproduce, either by choice or either by the fact that they can't reproduce. There is always adoption and surrogacy. It doesn't have to always be natural born babies, or sorry, babies that have, come out of some reproductive system of some sort. But just simplifying marriage as just a mechanism for reproduction is also a very false thought, because you could just reproduce without having to get married. Just have unprotected sex, and you could either get an STD or just get pregnant. Who knows? So, yeah.
The next one is all gay men are sexual predators or pedophiles. 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 Pedophiles.
Do you want me to go first? So,
Yeah, please go ahead.
um, this is a constant. This is also okay. This is a constant stereotype, or rather, a constant comment I keep seeing, keep hearing, and it's a rather dangerous one. No, we're not predators or pedophiles. Predators or pedophiles are regardless of gender identity or sexual identity. You have cishet predators and cishet pedophiles as well. It's a more individualistic thing rather than a communal thing, right? And it's a sad comment. It's a sad notion that people have of gay men. They're not sexual predators. And I've seen this a lot in movies as well, where a gay person is expressing themselves, being a little flirtatious, and they are seen as a sexual predator. And this is a constant topic that comes up within our discussions as well with my friends, with the collective and stuff, where as even lesbian people face the same thing, that they're sexual predators towards women, because they just exist to hunt women. I guess that's what the notion is of regarding lesbians. So as a queer person, it terrifies me to talk to anybody, regardless of who they are, or what their gender identity or sexual identity is, because I don't want to come off as a sexual predator. I don't want to accidentally come off as a sexual predator or as a pedophile, because it's a constant um, surveillance of the mind that one has to endure when such comments are put in front of us and put into our, like, on our face, that, oh, you're just there because you're a sexual predator. You identify as this person, so you're a sexual predator, no matter how much good you've done in the society. Because of that one, like, notion, you're just under constant scrutiny from people around you, as well from inside, like surveilling yourself in that mental prison. um it's a sad notion. It's a very sad stereotype. I mean, I wouldn't call it a stereotype either. It's just harmful. It's a harmful statement that one should not say at all, or one should try and not believe, because we're not sexual predators, we're not pedophiles. We're just trying to live like all of you. We're just trying to love like all of you. We just want someone to be with us. We just want someone to love. And yeah.
Yeah, so whenever we talk about our laws, our rights, as a LGBTQIA person, we always say we want love. We always say love is love. So we, first of all, yes, we want love, and secondly, I think Bollywood play, like old movies, I must say, old movies plays a very important role in, like, bringing these stereotypes in people's mind. Like, they'll be like, in whenever there is a Bollywood movie, they'll be like, every gay person is flirting with a like heterosexual person, and they are like, yes, they whenever there is a scene of a homosexual person or a gay or someone, then they'll be all be like, they will play a flirt the funny music in background, and they'll be like, they always wave, and they are like very lazy sort of person. That's really horrible for the thing. So yeah, they are not sexually, like, I can't say that they are very sexually attracted to everyone. They just want love. Love is something, love, a companionship, someone who can understand them, someone who can, with whom who they can express their feelings. So yeah.
Yeah, another one would be lesbians hate men.
It's a running joke that we actually do hate men, because men suck. No, I'm kidding. We love men, I guess. Um, no, we don't. I mean, I say we because lesbianism, but no, they don't hate men, I guess. I mean, some people do, probably because they might have some traumatic experience with men. That's a personal thing again. But communally, I don't think lesbians hate men. I don't think any of us hate men. Question mark. I say that with a lot of doubt in my head because the prime predator in or the prime perpetrator of crimes against women and gender and sexual minorities happens to be men, cishet men. And that is not to say that they don't face violence, sexual violence of their own. But when we face violence as women or as gender and sexual minorities, it is a more institutional, more structural, more systemic violence. It's more harm on our community rather than our personal body, right? It's personal body plus the communal body that is affected when we're faced with violence. When it comes to men that face violence, cis men in particular, um, it's more on their just personal body rather than a communal thing. And theirs is not institutional. Theirs is not systemic. Um, so maybe we do dislike men. Some of them. We do have a few favorite men. I do. I mean, I have a few token male friends who are nice people. But yeah, that's all I have to say. I mean, I
They
can.
are stereotypes for a reason. Um, Another one would be all lesbians are masculine or tomboys. Very
Uh,
audible. Please go on.
so Pri, you are going first.
I mean, you can go. I mean, I've been speaking a lot. I think people are tired of my voice. You can go
Okay.
on.
So may you please repeat the question, Shreya?
Right. Another long-standing stereotype is that all lesbians are masculine or tomboys. Right. What was your take on it?
Okay, so yes, this is a stereotype which I already discussed about. Ki, if she is a lesbian, then she must be masculine, and if he is a gay, then he must be feminine. I can say. So this is just their lifestyle. We can't correlate their lifestyle with their sexuality. So yeah, this is just a bullshit.
Priya,
Please
would
go
you
ahead.
like to add on?
I mean, I think we've touched upon something like this before with effeminate men being just gay and wanting to be women. Masculinity, tomboyishness is again a cover. It's that thing that you put over your naked body, and it doesn't change. Also, that and also like we do have a lot of lesbians who aren't tomboys, who aren't masculine. There are a lot of feminine lesbians. There are a lot of androgynous lesbians. There are a lot of girl lesbians. And also to categorize lesbians as masculine, tomboyish, or to categorize them as feminine or as girly is to uphold patriarchal notions of what a man or what a woman is, or what masculine and what feminine is. Because oftentimes when you see lesbians being categorized as masculine or tomboy, it's more them just being bolder. When I say bold, I mean their sense of fashion tends to come off as someone who's confident, someone who is strong, someone who is powerful. And when you see girly or when you see fashion or femme presenting clothes, you see them as more soft, more small, petite, someone that needs to be cared of, someone that needs to be taken care of. You know, you're upholding patriarchal notions. You're upholding what defines a man, what defines a woman. Um, and cis heteronormativity while doing that. When you say stuff like this, it is utter complete bullshit. Because I could be very femme in my way of presenting myself, as in like while I speak in my mannerisms, I could be very femme. Also, me using these words are also just making me uncomfortable because I'm like, I don't believe in those terms. I don't believe in those notions, like personally. But to be able to explain all of this and why why it's kind of shit to say that, um, uh, I do have to use it. But um, yeah, so it's harmful. It's harmful to categorize people based on their clothes and the way they
True.
speak and mannerisms and stuff.
Very true. Another stereotype is there's always a guy girl in the relationship.
uh, this is something really bullshit. What I think, because it's a man to man relationship or a girl to girl relationship, so there is no concept of gay, like guy or girl in the relationship. So this is really a bullshit. So yeah, Pri.
So when one says there's a guy or girl in the relationship, they I'm so sorry if there's any like disturbance from my side. I'm in my hostel and there are girls outside, so apologies for any disturbance. But when one says there is always a girl or a guy in a relationship, it always points or always refers to a cis heteronormative relationship, which has an inherent power disparity between the people in the relationship. And it is not always true in queer relationship. There is lesser power disparity between the people in a queer relationship, and I say lesser and not like a complete blanket statement that there is no power disparity, because power disparity emerges in different forms. It doesn't necessarily have to do with one's gender identity or one's sexual identity, or where they are societally with those identities, but also rather, their upbringing, their class, their caste, everything plays into power disparity, the just power imbalances within a relationship. So that's why I say lesser power disparity rather than no disparity at all. So not necessarily that there needs to be a guy or a girl in a relationship. Um, there could just be two or more people in a relationship. And I mean, again, what does that have to do with you as a third party? Like, you're not in the relationship, just stay away from it. How does it matter to you? How does it matter to you whether or not there's a guy or a girl in the relationship? If there isn't, good for them. If there is, good for them. Like, that has nothing to do with you. I think just mind your own business and grow up, like read a book or something. I don't know.
I want to add a point here. There is another stereotype related to this. That is, um, there is always like this is a stereotype that there is always a girl and a guy in a relationship, and then who do what part. Like they ask you this question too, who do what part. So I'm like, this is our personal choice, this is our personal relationship. So whatsoever we are doing on our bed, or we can say what we are doing in our personal space, then who the uh, are you to judge us? So yeah.
It's true. It was great you commenting on these long-standing stereotypes. Going on, we have questions from the audience to the panelists. Drishti, would you like to put us?
Yeah. Okay, so these questions are from the audience. How someone said, how do I address someone? I'm sorry if the bell is ringing. How do I address someone who is lesbian, gay, bisexual, or transgender without offending them? How do I know what pronoun to use if I'm unsure?
I think it's a simple case of just asking. If you're unsure of how they would respond to it, when especially if it's someone that's you're meeting for the first time, when you're making introductions, when you're introducing yourself, you could just say, hi, my name is XYZ and my pronouns are this that. So you could say, for example, you could say, hi, my name is Pri and my pronouns are she and they. And you could say, and what is your name or pronouns, and they would share it if they are comfortable with sharing it. And a general thumb of like a thumb rule of thumb that I follow when addressing people is to use they them pronouns to address them in whatever manner. And with respect to addressing gay and lesbian people, I don't think that um, uh, is something that should be of concern, because when it comes to addressing people, it usually has to do with one's gender identity. But then again, and when you're okay, so if you want to know what their sexuality is, again, first of all, it's not your business. It's really nothing for you to know. If they want to share it, they would share it with you when the time is right for them. You It would be problematic for you to walk up to them and ask them what their sexuality is. So I would, again, be I would advise you to not do that, to not like straight up go up and ask them what their sexuality or what their gender identity is, but to be a more subtle, a more approachable, a more nicer way to ask people what their pronouns are is to just introduce yourself with along with the pronouns that you use personally, and ask them what their name and what their pronouns are as well. So yeah.
Okay, the next one is how can I respond to the situation if someone confessed to me that they are lesbian, gay, bisexual, or transgender? Sir?
Sorry, Drishti, can you please repeat your question?
It is how can I respond to the situation if someone confessed to me that they are lesbian, gay, bisexual, or transgender?
Okay, so first of all, I think make a comfortable place for them. If someone is coming out to you, like if someone is telling their true identity to you, it means he or she is having a faith or a trust on you. So make a comfortable place for them. If you don't know ki, like what if you have any doubt regarding their part, like if they are homosexual, so if you are having any doubt ki, like you don't have any appropriate knowledge about the thing, just ask them but in a comfortable way. So that's how you can make a beautiful place or a comfortable place for them. And yeah, and I would like to add, if someone is coming out to you, it means he or she is having very faith on you. He or she consider you a very good a friend of mine. Be that friend, don't act uh like homophobic or transphobic in front of him or her. So yeah.
May I add something to what Sir said?
Please go on.
When someone comes out to you, I think the first thing that needs to be told as a reassuring way to just reassure them that they're valid is to say that I love you and I respect you and I think you're valid. I know that you're valid. You're a valid person. Your identity is valid. You are valid. Because many a times, many people have, said this online or like with the stories that have been shared with me throughout their life. When they've come to that point of just coming out, they have felt that constant feeling of invalidation from people around them. So when that small word, that just 5 letter word valid, when you say that they are valid, that reaffirms their faith in themselves. It reaffirms their faith in you as a person as well, as a friend as well. And when they do come out to you, don't go around telling people about it. It is a secret thing. It is not secret, it is a personal thing. If they want to come out to other people, they will on their own accord, and it is not your place to come out for them. And the third thing I want to add to this is that if someone comes out to you, make sure that you are there for them and tell them that you are there for them. Just sit them down and be like, I will always be there for you no matter what. I love you and I will always be there for you, and I hope that you recognize that, and I hope that you come to me when you need to talk about anything. I will always listen to you and I will always hear you out. That also, just having that person to talk to is also pretty important for us as queer people, because again, growing up we had that lack of feeling, that we related to something, or we felt like we were, that we were a part of something. We never felt that growing up, well, at least I personally didn't feel that. And so when I came out to my best friend first time, and she literally hugged me, and she's not a hugger at all. She doesn't hug. She hates hugging. So she hugged me and she said that, I love you and I think that you're valid. she constantly reminds me that I'm valid and that she's there for me. And that's something that I'm honestly blessed with. And I hope that if you are someone that, ha- if you are someone that has a friend who's come out to you recently, I hope you are that constant pillar of support for your friend. Um, so yeah.
Thank you so much. We have another question. I think this is one question we all want to know about. Is as our parents help us learn many things, but how can we make them learn about the LGBTQ community?
It's a hard thing to do. It is important to know that if your parents are open to a discussion about it. A lot of parents aren't, especially Indian parents. Um, Having them sit down and talk about this is important, and you can do that by way of just, talking about how they the community, the community are people who are human, are just people who want um, to live in peace, and who are people who have been oppressed for ages, and I'm saying like years. So they just want peace and they just want love for themselves, right? So I mean, it is going to be a very hard task, especially parents, because I mean, personally, I feel like a lot of the times, parents aren't open to hearing newer things. I think exposing them to certain content that pertains to the community discreetly, just be like, oh, let's watch a movie, and you just sit and watch a very gay movie. A PG one, so that they don't throw you out of the house for showing them porn. But you can just discreetly show them a gay movie or a gay show or whatever, and be like, oh, this is pretty cute, and just expose them slowly, bit by bit, even songs that are inherently gay, whatever it may be. So I think pop culture could help in that. But if your parents are into reading books, you can give them a few books, like recommend them a few books to read. Maybe they'll like it, maybe they don't. And since they are people who are pretty old, it is hard for them to let go of their earlier notions. It is hard for them to let go of their um, upbringing that they've been ingrained with. So it takes time, and you need to be patient with your parent. And I mean, unless they're being violent towards you when it comes to, when it comes to discussions of such nature, I think you can take it slow and take it one step at a time. But if they do get violent with you, please stop. It is not um, your place to put yourself in harm's way. It just protect yourself firstly. Your safety should be of utmost importance, rather than educating your parents. But yeah, that's all I have to say on this point. Yeah.
Can I add something? Yeah. So what I feel, whenever you are coming out to your parents or you are telling your parents, so like, don't tell about your partner instantly when you are coming out to someone, like to your parent. What I'm telling you this with the, because I heard my friend's experience when he told his family that he is homosexual and he is my partner. Then first thought that parent had there in my mind was, he is the person that, he means his partner is the person who is spoiling my kid. This is a very basic thing, but people do think like this. So I think, firstly, come out. This is your personal family, this is your personal space. Just tell them, firstly, watch some, have some discussions regarding the community and about movies, as pre said. So had a talk regarding the same. Then tell about that. If you are having partner, once they are adjust with that thing, then tell, yes, he or she is my partner. So yeah.
So the next question is from the chat box itself, which just came in. What if sorry? What if the coming out situation backfires and the person who loves you the most was totally disgusted by your existence? Then what? The additional question to that is, as our parents help us in learning many things, but how can we make them learn about the LGBTQ community?
I think the second question was already answered by Sir and I. So do you want to go to? So do you want to start with the first question, the backfiring one?
Okay, so what I feel for this is, if someone is black, like if you are in situation where situations are out of your control, firstly take a stand for yourself. If you feel like they are going against you, then take a stand for yourself ki, no, this is who I am. And if you feel like ki, yes, this like they are giving you a disgust look or something, just make yourself that much capable before telling your parents that you about your true identity. Make yourself that much capable, or like you can survive by your own. So I hope you got my whole point, what I mean to say with this. So yeah, please go ahead.
Um, First of all, when your coming out situation backfires on you, it is honestly the most horrible thing that could happen. Um, and I'm very sorry if you're going through that currently. Um, to avoid that, I'm going to say how you could avoid it in the first place, and then go on to like how what you could do when this situation does occur. So when it does, before you do come out to someone, maybe gauge how they would react to you coming out. And like a few things that you could do about it is to ask, questions about the community and see how they respond. If they respond positively to, the questions that you've asked, or negatively to the questions that you've asked, you can perhaps understand what they think of the community in general, right? So if they do respond negatively to your questions about like the community, like whether you can say, oh, this there's this gay club downtown, maybe we should go to it or whatever. And if they say no, I don't like gay club, it's probably going to be very loud or very like flamboyant, and it's just going to be gay people all over each other and stuff. So if they say something like that, that's very negative and kind of homophobic as well, you could just not come out to them. It's not important to come out to people. You can It is liberating to come out to people, but it's also important to keep yourself safe against people who may react negatively to you coming out. But if the situation does arise where it does backfire on you, I hope and I pray to the fact that you do have that strength, that you do have that faith in yourself to come out of it stronger. And it I would recommend, if it's a friend. This is only for applied to friends, situations that involve friends. If it's a friend, I would suggest you cut them off from your life immediately, no matter how much they meant to you. Pehle, it is of utmost importance for you as a person to take care of your mental health, and to take care of your physical physique and your physical body as well. And not expose yourself to situations like this where they would continue to be homophobic towards you no matter what, right? So you could either do that, cut them off completely, or take up the onus to sit and kind of try and explain to them how you are no different from what you were before you came out to them. But even after that explanation of yours, even after that, they do tend to be homophobic, or they do tend to like look at you with disgust, just negatively react to you. um Leave. The only thing I can say is just leave. I mean, it's a toxic relationship, and you don't want to constantly be reminded of the fact that you disgust someone. Nobody has to face that. Nobody should face the fact that they disgust someone. They shouldn't. I mean, it's horrible. But when it comes to parents, again, gauge how they would react to you coming out. And I mean, you can't cut off your parents completely unless you're like financially, emotionally stable. Excuse me. Sorry. Unless you're like financially. I'm just gonna take a sip of water. I'm sorry, I think something stuck in my throat. But as I was saying, you can't completely, I mean, immediately cut your parents off unless you're like financially stable. Because again, you need to take care of yourself. Your safety is priority. So I just hope nobody has to, nobody listening to this has to go through that. Uh, um, it would be a hard situation to face. It would lead you to like doubt yourself and kind of bring that self hatred back. It would bring up a lot of negative emotions, and it will take time to get over it. I mean, to move on from it. It will take time to work your way through all those emotions and feelings. But yeah, I don't know where I was going with that train of thought, but just um, okay. One more thing. I mean, I'm sorry if this is dragging out a lot longer than intended. Um, if okay, I'm forgetting my thoughts. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Um, no, but like, okay, coming back to people being disgusted by you, your entire life is not going to be that. People aren't going to be disgusted with you or by your very existence your entire life. There will be people who will love you. There will be people who will love you for who you are, will respect you for who you are. And you just have to hope. Being queer is all about having that hope, having that faith in your heart that people will be nice to you, that people will love you for who you are, and that people will accept you. And I hope that again, I hope that nobody has to face that disgust or that feeling of invalidation from people because of their queerness. Um, so yeah, I'll just end here. Thank you.
Thank you, Guru. It was not only informative but also heartfelt. So now I request all of you, those who have the pride flag, to raise it, and to all who don't, just celebrate with us to the pride song.
अपनी ये दुनिया उतनी हंसी है जितने हंसी हम हैं। जहाँ पे भी तू है, जहाँ पे सुकून है, अब तो वही हम हैं। दिल का रास्ता प्यार से भरा, अपना काफिला प्यार से चला, उड़ रहे हैं, खुल गए हैं, रूह में खुल गए। हम रंग है हर रोशनी के संग है, हम संग है। हम रंग है हर रोशनी के संग है, हम संग है। नदिया से एक सुबह से उठाएंगे। एक रंग मीठा होगा, एक थोड़ा चटखारा, एक रंग चंदा होगा, एक टूटा सा तारा। तू है, जहाँ पे सुकून है, अब तो वही हम हैं। हम रंग है हर रोशनी के संग है, हम संग है। हम रंग है हर रोशनी के संग है, हम संग है। दिल का रास्ता प्यार से भरा, अपना काफिला प्यार से चला, उड़ रहे हैं खुल गए हैं, रूह में खुल गए हैं। अपनी ये दुनिया उतनी हंसी है, जितने हंसी हम हैं।
जहाँ पे भी तू है, जहाँ पे सुकून है, अब तो वही हम हैं।
For the last but not the least, proposing the word of thanks, I would like to say I'm very happy and proud. Today's event was a real success. I thank I thank Advocate Avantakar Ohati. I, I thank every other panelist who's present here today and made uh, this occasion so amazing and so informative. And I also like to say that, like it was discussed throughout the meeting, Pride is not just for a month, but it should be an event throughout the year. And this our community needs help, and everyone has to stand up for it. And going on, I'd like to thank our collaborators, GirlUp Jammu and Kashmir, GirlUp Bengaluru, GirlUp Mukti, the Rahat program, GirlUp Ruhi, and GirlUp Alpha. I I take immense pleasure in ending this event with so much grace. I also thank Arni, who came here today, gave us a message, and I thank everybody else who added to this panel today. Who added? I also thank the technical team who made it all possible. And guys, there is a feedback link in the chat box. Please use it, and also find our link tree form on in the chat box. Connect with us, and we look forward to having more events like this where we come out and voice out the needs of the society, needs of the LGBTQA community, and ensure that we have a better tomorrow. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Krisha. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for inviting us to this panel. I feel very grateful and honored to be part of this. I had a lot of fun interacting with all of you and talking about Pride and just all things Pride. Happy Pride to everybody. Have fun, stay safe, and take care. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Happy Pride.
everyone. A happy Pride, everyone.